So they'll be calling you a radical. Let's get back to the BLANCH rule. We'll talk about your favorite subject, kids. Nuclear waste. Get it off our place. So, see no nuclear evil. Hear no equal evil. Speak no nuclear energy evil. The nuclear energy emperors. Oh, they have no clothes. So you can't even have a conversation about the elephant in the room, the pot of dead humpback whales in the room, literally. The dead Chinook in the room that wiped out dead tide pools post Fukushima, the plutonium fires. Can't even have a conversation of the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. I mean, we live in surreal times. Unbelievable surreal times. If digital genre is worth money, then how come Kevin BLANCH never got a... I never got a publicist. I never got a lawyer. I never got nothing. And think about all this, writers, everything that plagiarized Kevin BLANCH over the years, the movie producer, whatever. We live in surreal times. The abuse that was allowed to attack Kevin BLANCH in a vicious, vicious, vicious way while fighting cancer in critical condition. Think about that. Goes on to this day, by the way. Hit the 10-yard mark soon. Hang in there. Very sad time in America. Very sad time in the old USA. My uncle, who raised me, took a massive stroke. I get a lot of my Alaska dad up there. Taking him home to die. Kind of like the Chinook salmon. Come home to die. They can't even make it home anymore. Don't raise your voice, Kevin BLANCH. Cordial conversations are dangerous. If the last 40 years in America hasn't proved that, Greenpeace, Sierra Club, don't raise your voice. Passionate, intelligent arguments. Oh, they get results. The problem is we have passionate arguments with no intelligence. People don't even know their subject matter. You try to talk about nuclear waste. So the big mainstream media here, they're not going to touch nuclear yet. We store it here. It comes here. So headline, Yahoo! They failed to investigate the water filtering process of Fukushima, Japan. You think? You think? How many days are we going on? We're getting close to 4,000 days of just dumping water, full blown out nuclear meltdowns. Remember, it took Kevin BLANCH a year and a half. Yeah, Kevin BLANCH. Look it up. I want you to start Googling around, find anybody else that was calling these full blown out multiple nuclear meltdowns. Nobody was. Oh no, Arnie Gundershield told me it was a hydrogen blast. Helen Caldecott told me not to use the F word, Fukushima. Her nuclearism could be the end of the planet. Symposium. I'm sitting with Noam Chomsky himself. But don't talk about Fukushima. Hear no nuclear evil. See no nuclear evil. Speak no nuclear energy evil. It's like cancer. We're going to run for the cure. God forbid we ever dive into the cause. To dive into the core root of causation is hate speech in America. To take on the causation is hate speech in America. Accept it. Take the shower. Get on the boxcar. Oh boy, have we. And we've accepted it in this country. I never accepted it. I fought back. In the cancer world, they teach you. They try to. The cancer psychology. Come on, fight back intensely, radically. But we're so postured and groomed in this country not to. So what do we get? We get loud, unintelligent arguments. We get loud, read a Wikipedia page, 3-second soundbite, cable TV arguments. We don't get any sophisticated, passionate, intelligent arguments. No, they're hate speech. So the activist Kevin BLANCH, where do we go from here? Now that all of our children, where do we go from here? We have no platform. You know, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to call KSL up. They're going to come interview me. I've tried that. I mean, the lead story on that starving to death horse out by the jetty in 2010 was the lead story on KSL. They pulled it down. Here's a starving to death horse with a broken freaking leg, freaking right after they passed anachrony, Bill. You know, reality means nothing. Internet kettling. I mean, what am I going to call local newspaper? Oh my God. There is no investigative journalists in America. The internet took those out, and then they took the internet. Investigative journalists used to be here, YouTube, Kevin Blanch, thereof. No, don't raise your voice. Don't investigate. Don't try to get to the causation, the core. Don't try to get the causation of the greatest ecological catastrophe in the Great Pacific. Don't get into the causation of why are all the salmon freaking dying in the sea acutely in the last 10 years. I've proven it. You know, record returns on the salmon, and they die in the sea. Don't try to get in the causation of why all the whales are dying. Don't get into the causation why 99% of the tide pools are actually, don't talk about the causation. Run for the cure. Don't ever talk about the cause. That's hate speech. Investigative journalism, research PhDs, forget about it, over. Peer review, what? You know, they hand out PhDs like toilet paper to its friends and family. It's imperialism. So, that's where we're at. Let's back to the BLANCH rule. This is important. I'm going to hammer this for a long time. So, in the past, when people didn't know, you know, the government subsidy on nuclearism, whatever. Now, this is extremely important. Everyone knows. They know in New York. They know in Illinois. They know in Connecticut. They know in New Jersey. I see that there was a worker killed at 3 Mile Island yesterday. How? Unloading something. Well, they'll never tell us the truth. We've learned that over the years, right? We'll have no clue how it really happened. That's just unarguable factual proof that, you know, that's played out post-Fukushima. That they'll never tell us the truth on anything nuclearism. Nobody will. Well, Kevin Blanch will. You kettle me, I'll kettle you. So, we know there's absolutely no answer for the waste. Now, did California bail out the nuclear industry? Yeah, backdoor Diablo Canyon. They sure did. They're giving Diablo Canyon giant golden parachutes. Look up with the plant manager. That thing should have been shut down years ago. Did we bail out San Onofre? Nope. We shut it down in San Diego County. By the way, San Onofre is in San Diego County, not Orange. But the people of San Clemente paid the price when they vented in June or January of 2012. The hot reactor that's here, there's no footage. Oh, wait a minute. There's a guy on YouTube. The only investigative journalist that touches this. Oh, he videoed it. He was out there. It's out there in the library, but they've sequestered the library. Not burning books, burning entire libraries down. The BLANCH rule. So in Illinois, you bailed them out. Everyone in the world knows that there is no answer for the waste. Thorium reactors, salt reactors. China's trying, they're putting on a new one every month starting in 2010. They put on one, and it had, well, they've shut it down. The French company themselves sent out the freaking eminent radiation letter to Jennifer Granholm and the Department of Energy. Look it up. They've admitted, even France came out and has admitted, yeah, it's what's going on there. They haven't put any on. It's all propaganda. Price-Anderson. So Price-Anderson was a bill passed in the 1950s to promote nuclearism. It's called the Immunity Act. The Immunity Act says to promote any nuclear legal suits, including fraud, doesn't fall to the perpetrator. It falls on the United States taxpayer. Ask Bechtel. They're paid to put triple layers around the tanks at Hanford. They didn't do it. Stephen Bechtel says, yeah, so what'd you do with the money? You're paid for it. We hired PR firms to attack anti-nuclear activists. So Bush re-upped it for 20 years. Congress re-upped it for 20 years. It comes up in 2025. 99.9999999% of the United States doesn't even know what I'm talking about. So the BLANCH rule. You build them out in Illinois. You know, the Zion reactor, where's your Zion play? Is when they tore down the reactor in Illinois, it's here. It's here in the Energy Solutions dump site. Now, we have a law, exactly the same law, identical law that Texas has just passed. We have that law in Utah. You know, I've talked to Governor Herbert. Governor Cox doesn't even know what I'm talking about when I talk to him. I might as well be talking Chinese. Same with the Attorney General. So, Governor Herbert did. So did Governor Huntsman, did somewhat. Well, they're bringing it in anyway. Idaho has the same law. It's illegal to bring in so-called high-level nuclear waste into Idaho, we have state laws. Texas passed the same law. Does that stop them? No. Cecil Andrews, who fought him and sued and won over and over and over and over, who died in 2016. He proved that over and over. In Utah, proved it over. They bring it in anyway. They'll tell you it's under national security. They can do it anyway. So the NRC has approved the nuclear waste Holtec pad in West Texas. They approved it yesterday, a week right after Texas says no. Texas says no. Feds say yes. You know, it's been going into WIP for decades secretly. Shh, don't tell them. They do what they want. There's got to be an answer for this waste. So the waste at San Onofre, we didn't bail them out. We shut it down. Without Kevin Blanch, San Onofre never shuts down. That's just an unarguable fact. It's the grassroots activist that does all the accomplishments. And, of course, we get no credit. You know, it's just an unarguable fact. It's got to come off that beach. It's out of those spent fuel pools, which is a giant. It's the greatest accomplishment by grassroots activists in probably human history. The shutdown. They had no intention of shutting down. And not only that, the waste coming out of them spent fuels into the dry cast containers on the shock absorbers, which is the same thing at Humboldt. It's been there for 30 years on the pad. In Surrey, it's been there for, 35 years on the pad. We don't hear anybody screaming about that. It's got to come off there. We get that. Is it going to go to West Texas or New Mexico? No doubt in my mind, in fact. So, anybody that bails them out, California did not bail out San Onofre. By the way, California didn't even get the energy from San Onofre. They got shoved down their throat. We've been fought it for years. We got it shut down. Well, it was a guy from Utah. Well, the waste is here in Utah. So, the rule. Illinois, you bailed them out again. Where are you going to put your waste? Continue to store it on site in swimming pools? So dangerous. So I have an answer. Put it at Soldier Field. They're talking about the Bears moving away from Soldier Field. Jim McMahon from right here. Right here. He grew up right here. Roy High School. I mean, the border, the Roy High School border and Weber High School is just right there, the railroad tracks next to my house. I knew him when I was a teenager. He called the Chicago Bears the graveyard for quarterbacks, which it always has, man. They want to leave Soldier Field? Well, put the waste at Soldier Field. Put it under Wrigley. There you go. You can put it on. Cubs lose. Cubs lose. Cubs lose. $700 million more. This is the 5th time in the last 5 years that Exelon's been bailed out in Chicago. How about in New York? Same company, Exelon. Not $700 million. Read my lips. $7.6 billion for 9 Mile Island, which is 3 times worse than 3 Mile Island. $7.6 billion, Status King Cuomo handed them. Without any vote by the populace, clean green energy bill was flush with money, just like in Utah. We get these bills through for wind and solar, so what does the nuclear energy come in and they lobby and they steal it. So they just change the language inside the bill. What? Nuclear energy is clean, green. Now, are you kidding? Renewable? Ask them at Savannah River, $29 billion. The Tower of Babel that never worked. That's how they just steal the money. Yeah, you steal it. 7.6 in there. So here's the deal. You bail them out. New York City, New York State, you keep it. All that waste, it's all yours. The New York waste, put it at Times Square. I think put it at Yankee Stadium. Put it out there at the old Shea. Put it at the old Polo Grounds. That's perfect. Put it right at the Polo. Put it at Ebbets Field. That's where it can go. Every state that spelled them out, which is a lot of states right now. I remember the first bill when they started the state thing was in New York. You had one guy fighting resistance, a guy from Utah, in New York City fighting it tooth and nail, Kevin BLANCH. But don't raise your voice. Don't have an intelligent, passionate argument. That's hate speech. So in Chicago, in Illinois, you bailed them out, it's all yours. That's the BLANCH rule. You bail out state nuclear, the state taxpayer, the state legislators. Every legislator voted for it, if it's so great, maybe they store the waste in the basement. I have answers for the waste. I've said for years, people argue with me, shoot it into space.